time travel? Is it now? Is it then? Is it the future? No, it's just Days of Future Past. Or is it present? Welcome to a Smurd P video, and today we are looking at Days of Future Past X-Men hardcover. And I said that in completely the wrong order. Now, in terms of cover, it's really nice as this scene originally happened. Storm getting taken off, and obviously the Sentinel blasting Wolverine. Looks like his skull starting to show there, which is pretty cool. On the side we have Marvel, and then we have X-Men Days of Future Past. We've got Claremont, and then we've got an older version of Logan. And then on the back, we have The Future Is Now. And then we got It Collects X-Men 141, Uncanny X-Men 142, that was a changeover, X-Men Annual 14, Excalibur Annual 52. Sorry, Excalibur is 52 and 67, 66, 67. Wolverine Days of Future Past 1 to 3, and material from Fantastic Four Annual 23, New Mutants Annual, X Factor Annual 5, and Hulk Broken Worlds 2. Now this is a very nice scene, and this is from the X-Men Days of Future Present. I think that's what it was called in the graphic novel, whether that was what's called. Whether it was called that in the individual issues is another thing, and hopefully I can show you that in a minute. Now, from my perspective, the only issue that I have is the fact that this is called Days of Future Past. Now, if this was called Days of Future Present, I don't think I would have actually a really big issue with it, because it would sit on my shelf nicely. Instead, it's kind of showing me that perhaps it is around the Days of Future Past story, which, as many of you know, I have the Uncanny X-Men Omnibus, which has, and sorry, this is number 2, by the way, volume 2, and it is there. Oh my goodness, what a mess! And it's there, basically, which is, and I understand why they've done it. Chris Claremont is classic X-Men. You know, we've had this, and we've had the Phoenix Saga book hardcover release, which is quite nice. But if it was Days of Future Present, I could stick it quite nicely on my shelves. But Days of Future Past, it kind of throws it all off. Underneath the dust cover, we have this lovely picture without all the gumph that goes with it. And Ahab does look pretty cool in this. And I'm not a big fan of Ahab. I really have no love for the character. Maybe it's because I've not read him in the right things. But even in this, it's not really a deal breaker, this kind of story. I think I've only read it a couple times, and I think I remember finding it hard to read. And then it's the 142 cover, which is very, very nice. And then we have the synthesis. So that's about Days of Future Past, and this is about Days of Future Present. And then there's the Wolverine kind of bit as well, which I'll be honest with you, I've never read. So from that perspective, I'm quite looking forward to it. And here, this other side is around the creators. So inside we have this classic picture of Wolverine protecting Kitty Pryde, which is based on this one. And a bit about the writers, etc. And then pretty much it's straight into the story, which is, I've read this so many times, and I still enjoy it. Enjoy it a lot. So this is the bit, maybe it's because the Fantastic Four are in it, and there's lots of different mixes. I think the only bit that I really recall is that Rachel Grey and Jean Grey meet each other for the first time. So I think Abraham, does he come back to kill Franklin, and then future Franklin arrives something along those lines. So I'm probably sure that I just need to read it again and perhaps I'll like it. And here's the X Factor annual. So like I said, it's been a while since I've read this, and sometimes I'm really terrible and I do kind of forget what on earth is going on. See, in the comics it's actually called Days of Future Presents. So if this book was called Days of Future Presents, I think I would like it that much better. So, and this is why a lot of these fans have bought this book, is for this one story that has been released in paperback before. But obviously some of us collectors mainly go, I mean, that's a nice picture, mainly go for the hardbacks. So you can see my, I'm hoping you can see my frustration. And I don't think that's a bit with Jean. I think there's a bit later on, or maybe that was the bit with Jean. Or not. I might just imagine things. I hope not. And there's some other stories in here that I think are read as well that I've never read before. Excalibur, I'll be quite honest, is probably, out of all the comics that I've read over the years, it's probably one of my weakest points. That and the original X-Force run. Those two runs I really need to finally get on and actually read. So this must have been around 1996, because she got Psylocke with her, what's the word I'm looking for? Crimson face going down. Let's see, this stuff's new to me. I have a clue. This must be the Hulk bit. Here we go. That's what the original graphic novel looked like. Oh, this is that moment. This is the main moment that I remember from this book. Is, I think this is their first encounter, which is probably quite heartbreaking. And Rachel Reed, over the years, has been hard done by, or given the rough shard of everything, which is really disappointing. And this is what it looks like on my shelf. So, you know, you got the X-Men, Uncanny X-Men Classics, Mutant Massacre, the big stories. Haven't got Inferno, but then I believe it comes in there before these, and so forth and so forth. So, if it said present, Days of Future Present, it would have just been spot on. But it's not. I'm a little bit disappointed in Marvel. Just a little bit. So all in all, this is a nice book, and I think it will fit in your collection, especially if you're a big fan of the Days of Future Present story. Not for the Days of Future Past. We've seen it so many times. I understand why they've done it and called it this, but I think if they called it Days of Future Past, I would have. This would be the book sitting on my shelf. I can't see myself keeping this right now, and I'll just hope that at some point we'll get it in some form of omnibus. Maybe an X Factor omnibus at some point in the future. So, but if you're a real hard fan, you want it, grab it. Or if you decide that actually, I just want to read an X-Men story, Days of Future Past is a classic, grab that. Or grab the Phoenix Saga hardcover. I'm not going to get it once again. It's in my Uncanny X-Men Omnibus Volume 2. So, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. Embrace the geekiness. I'm on Facebook at SmurredP. Sorry, I'm on Facebook, SmurredP. I'm on Twitter at SmurredP. No idea what I'm doing there, but I'm there. And embrace the geekiness. Once again, goodbye. Take care.